Coming back after 30 years, or more than 30 years, it's a fantastic feeling because the buildings appear to be the same. There's a little bit of rain shelter, or whatever you call it. The science tower looks a bit smaller than what I expected then. The trees are the same.
Looking at this campus now as it is, seems like it's air conditioning and with all these covered pathways, it is like given for granted.
I remember very well the freshie hops that took place in this building. There were a lot of dancers, there were a lot of dinner and dance by the various faculties. And discussions took place here very intensely. And if you could not finish your discussion over here, you would always adjourn to the Sarabat store next to the Bukit Timah canal. And I certainly remember that those were the days when we got together and we sang a lot of songs. Songs which were made more interesting because of the lyrics that were put into the music. They were familiar tunes, but many of my friends in those days knew how to add lyrics, shall I say, with a local flavor. And some of the lyrics were quite colourful, and we enjoy ourselves. So who says Singaporeans are not creative and don't have talent?
More than frightened, I was shocked and probably even flabbergasted, you know. And I immediately, what I did was to call off the meeting and say that the meeting has come to an end, and I walked out of the NLT. But Mr. Bhag Singh, who was then the president, he told me, all right, you better go back and take control of the meeting again. Otherwise, it would become very messy.
Right.
So I went back and continued to chair the meeting.
We also had a lot of fun in Raffles Hall, apart from highlights of Raffles Hall used to be major mischief functions that were organized. One of the things we organized quite successfully at Raffles Hall was bringing from Johor Bahru a striptease queen called Rose Chan.
Yes,
She used to perform at Magenta, one of the best known nightclubs in Johor Bahru. So we approached her and said we have a talent time at Raffles Hall, whether she would come and perform. We of course told her that we were students and we couldn't afford to pay her fees, but we did tell her that there would be enormous applause and encouragement and appreciation of her performance. So we invited her across, but the news had leaked well ahead of time that Rose Chan was going to perform in Raffles Hall, and a hall that could take in 500 chaps was packed with about 2,000 fellows.
But I think on the whole, for most people, the memory of Raffles Hall would certainly be a very pleasant one. And in that sense, I suppose you can say that it is a memory of a lot of fun which they had in Raffles Hall.
You know, when I was here as a student, I never in a million years ever thought that I would end up making Singapore my home. I loved the people, but I couldn't tolerate the heat very well. And I left it at the end of my 1 year here and went back to the States. And when I did eventually then, several years later, come back to live in Singapore, I think what made it easy, relatively easy for me was the fact that I knew so many people from my student days. And I was able to rekindle a couple of those friendships, and with a couple of the girls from Yusuf College here. And we had been in touch over the years as we'd graduated from college, myself in the States and them here. And so that was really a very important link. I think that helped sustain me through those first difficult years when I did end up back in Singapore.
Had girls from so many countries. We made so many friends, different cultures that we learned.
Right.
And of course, we cannot forget the boys from Raffles Hall and Dunyan Road Hostel.
Right.
Actually, we had very close relationships with the boys at Raffles Hall. They were a bunch of really fun boys. They were very active during Rag and Flag. Very often after Rag and Flag, they would march to our hall, and we girls would be tipped off that they were coming. Now, I must share with you this unforgettable incident. It was after Rag and Flag, and I think the boys were coming to make up for ragging our freshies. But I think we were prepared for them. They came, they marched down the road to our car porch, and but we were all prepared for them. So when they reached the car porch, we poured down pails and pails of soapy water. Now the boys were really, really sporting. Instead of scurrying for cover, they said, "More, give us more." And they all soaked in the punishment. Some even rolled on the floor, literally enjoying it. And we girls were having a heyday. We poured soapy water, we poured colored water, and we were clapping away, having a great time.
I would like to see DRH as an experience where it was the first time I moved out of home and being exposed to real multiracial living. Even my roommate was Chinese, and it called for tolerance, give and take, and understanding. And to me, it was part of that important road of my understanding, a better understanding of what multiracial, multi-religious Singapore was all about.
I think the most exciting incident I can recall is when ever a woman passed by our hostel, whether from Yusuf College somewhere, and they're bound to be a shout. I always wait for a while for a few seconds to hear the sound, and it inevitably came, Whoa, ma! And then they will be joined by a chorus of others.
There were exciting times because we were all passing through a phase of revolution, academic revolution. Just allow the students a degree of freedom, but know how to tackle it, that it doesn't get out of hand. There was no rioting, for which I must be thankful. But it kept under control, but the students believed that they were in charge of the students' union, which they always have been. But they want to make sure or have an assurance from me that because of the troublesome student movement all over the world, including I think Japan as well, interfering. Well, everything went off very well in the end. I can't recollect the students who were involved with me in those days. Many students were relics of the war. They were more matured. I'm not going to be treated as young, fresh children from schools. So you had to let them run their own affairs. I never barged into the students' union, which is down the road, unless they invited me. I wanted to see that the place was clean and not messy because we were paying the bills. So I always asked them to escort me down there.
These are wonderful moments for me. To have the privilege of seeing you all, first of all, as outstanding students. I remember people like Pala, both as a union leader and an outstanding athlete, sportsman, sports secretary. David Ho in his general secretaryship of the union. People like Rais Yatim was also JCRC president. And your seniors but close friends, people like Tan Soo Kun. And to be able to see your progress in society, making such outstanding contributions, and yet at the same time to see the bonding among yourselves is exemplary.
You've seen basically the tremendous amount of commitment and views that various alumni have given about the great days we've had and shared at Bukit Timah campus. And now that we've come of age, I think all of us want to leave behind a little part of us to carry on and to represent the kinds of visions and goals and idealism that we all had as undergraduates. And I think there's no more appropriate way of doing this than to support a visiting professorship in the university that will circulate within all the different faculties that we all represent. And I feel that this is really the most important statement that all of us can make as alumni of this university.
I support the fund as I feel I should try and return something back to the university from what I've gained from it.
Hi, I support the class of 72 Professorial Fund.
It's a good cause. I think we should all support the fund.
I support the class of 72 Professorship Fund, so give generously.
It's a very worthwhile cause, and I would urge all our batchmates to support it.
Meet me tonight in the moonlight, darling, meet me tonight all alone. I have a story to tell you, a story that's never been told.
If you want to marry me, darling, do not come at one. Papa will be waiting with his double-barrel gun.
Oh, meet me tonight in the moonlight, darling, meet me tonight all alone. I have a story to tell you, a story that never been told.
I think one fumble. I think we went off.
In wonderful roads, they tell me, in sweet fragrant meadows of Norway, there were stars in the sky, but I never saw them twinkling. No, I never saw them at all till there was you. There were